Collective. I am DiMeglio, co-founder and CEO. Today we are at the Lowenstein Sandler office in Midtown Manhattan. It's beautiful law office aesthetic. And today we are going to be interviewing some of the top university founders and leading mentors and advisors, investors, and other founders that are here to speak to the university entrepreneurs that are here at the NGEN Entrepreneurship Conference here in Manhattan. Today, I am here with
Marie Eric, CEO and founder of Tastee Tape.
All right, Tastee Tape. I think we would love to start by just asking more about where the name came from, because I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah, it's actually a really great question. So Tastee Tape actually was a name we came up with as a poster project. We need something catchy to describe what our product was at the time, which was an edible burrito tape. Burritos fall apart. Everyone faces that issue. And we're like, okay, we need something catchy to kind of describe the fun nature of the actual project. And we're like, okay, we'll go Tastee Tape. That'll be, whatever. It has the alliteration there. And then as we were, trying to mull over different ideas, you're like, we like Tastee Tape. It sticks a little bit. We originally had the Y instead of the 2 E's. And then our advisor was like, add the 2 E's. You need to make it a little bit more fun and dynamic. And then that's how we ended up with Tastee Tape that it is today.
Names for a company are so important.
Yeah.
Our name, you may not have caught it. We just met. Can you tell me how to say this name?
So I heard you just say it twice, and now I have to. Coeus?
No.
Okay, never mind.
Coeus.
Coeus.
Coeus is the Greek titan of intelligence and foresight. We like to say that we're ahead on trend here. It's innovation oriented.
Yeah.
Nobody can say this name. Nobody can spell this name. We are remembered as the company that has a weird name. But we have this really cute owl logo. Owls represent education. We think it's nice. Anyways, but names are super important, right?
Of course.
But sometimes you use your name to your advantage. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. I think people don't think about this that often, but do you think people knew how to say Nike when it first came out?
Probably not. I think people say Nike.
Yeah.
All that. There was so many different versions that people probably came up with.
Certainly. Yeah. And it's just so crazy to me how we can just have these brands become memorable and you can remember how to spell them. Yeah. Right? There are certainly some other things to think about too when you're thinking about the spelling of your name, right? Because there's, trademark and we want to all be able to be trademarked. So that's important too, but you never know. So Tastee, 2 E's. Whoever told you that in the advisory front, I think that was pretty smart. Yeah,
no, I think with Tastee Tape, sometimes I go back and forth on the name, but I think it really clicks. It sticks the moment. No pun intended here, but it immediately sticks. And I think that's the beauty of it, where I walk into a conference, I say, hey, I'm the CEO and founder of Tastee Tape. You're like, what did you just say? I'm sorry, what? They're like, yeah, Tastee Tape. We're making a sustainable packaging film that I think immediately grabs attention and sometimes makes people laugh. And I think that's always a great way to start maybe super meaningful points of connection and contact.
Of course. I'm curious, because I was a sustainability CPG founder myself. Mm-hmm. I'm curious in the concept of how you go about mentioning the value of your product, whether it's to investors or people that you're seeking to have on board your team. Mm-hmm. How do you go about discussing your product? Is it about the benefits of the product? Is it about the sustainability? What do you lead with?
I think it depends on who you're talking with, right? I think, like you mentioned, there's just a wide array of people that you'll have conversations with. But I think from an investor standpoint, they already know the plastics issue. Do I need to hand them maybe 40 other statistics that they've heard? Everyone to some capacity understands the importance of maybe finding more sustainable alternatives. I think maybe some way that we approach how we look at Tastee Tape is how can we maybe flip what we're doing and what we've seen maybe in the space of sustainability. I think for us, it's how do we make sustainability something that's not dreadful, something that maybe invites a little bit more excitement and some level of interaction that you haven't quite seen before from a sustainability angle. And I think there's also this other narrative around food safety. Forever chemicals, PFAS, that have just been found across the supply chain, and in packaging especially. And there's studies that show just the harmful impacts that are associated with it. And as much as it's everywhere, not a lot of people know about it. But companies are requiring changes to be made in effect, right? So I think there's multiple angles to really focus still on the conversation of sustainability. And I think especially in a market where there's so many biodegradable film, packaging solutions out there, you have to find a way to differentiate yourself. And I think this is maybe when you think about narrative, this is how you need to alter it because everyone knows about it. So how do you really make it different than what else is out there?
It's interesting because I think that we maybe used to be getting into a world where just saying that you were a sustainable product or focusing on the sustainability story was not enough.
Yeah.
And I think that for better or for worse, the conversation around sustainability has changed recently. Probably for the worse, let's be honest.
Of course.
Let's be real. And there's now a component where it's kind of back to being like, okay, we can lead with sustainability because sustainability itself can be a differentiator. When I was running my business, something that I was always keen of was that we're always more expensive than our competitors.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that that's something that you deal with too. I don't have any inside knowledge. I'm sure that it is.
Yeah.
How do you get around that question?
Yeah, that's the question we face every single time. I think that is one of the biggest barriers in terms of adoption of new materials in like the packaging film space. It's always going to be more expensive, especially in an early stage startup such as ourselves. So I think you have to have a game plan. Like how are you going about approaching and making sure that you get maybe as close to cost parity or maybe somewhere in that ballpark. And maybe you have some other value adds that are really contributing here. So I think, like I mentioned, is we're changing the user experience on how people interact with packaging. You could eat it. You could add flavoring. You could do so many different things, right? And I think that's inherently what's super exciting with what we're doing. But also, we have a game plan because you're right. What is the cost at the end of the day is really going to make the difference between how you end up getting that really key partnership that drives the business forward. So we have to think about how do we scale this? What's the manufacturing going to look like? How do we pare this down as much as possible to make it feasible for businesses to actually use our product?
And when you're thinking about the context of expansion, right? To what extent are you able to expand your business through your sustainability story, right? Because I think that sometimes, people are just looking at expansion of a business through, okay, how much money can this save me, right? I'm talking from your buyer's perspective, right? How much money can this save me? But I remember for my business, measuring their impact and like they companies used to have, back in my day, the mid to late 2010s, companies used to have sustainability targets. ESG was a real thing.
It is sort of still there. It keeps getting pushed back, let's be honest.
Pushback is a good way to refer to it, I think. And they want to be able to measure their impact, right? Impact measurement, I think, is something that's really important. I think people that aren't in the sustainability space don't even think about impact measurement. They just think, oh, this is more sustainable, but there are people and there are real benefits to your business of tracking the sustainability impact that you're having. Is that something that you all do?
Yeah, of course. I think people talk about LCAs, life cycle analysis. That is like a key thing when you're looking at sustainability. Where are you sourcing your material? How are you sourcing it? I think there's all these key functionalities that come to ultimately what leads to sustainability as a whole, right? And you have to keep those in mind, especially as building a business, because, like we mentioned, although some of these commitments are getting pushed back, consumers are still asking the right questions. Regulation, although it tends to be slow, especially here in the US, those things are coming about and businesses need to anticipate that. So it's like, how do we kind of make sure that we're in line and kind of being a part of maybe some of the thought process for these businesses when it comes to the conversation around sustainability?
Amazing. Well, I've learned so much from this conversation. I actually am more optimistic about the future of sustainability-oriented startups after speaking with you, Marie. Yeah. So thank you. You've given me some hope.
That makes me happy to hear that, especially as someone that gets to really see the dark sides of it. So.
And I guess now I would love for other people to feel this hope too. Can you tell the audience about where to find you or where to find out more about Tastee Tape?
Yeah, of course. Tastee Tape, we have an Instagram, we have our website, tasteetape.com, very easy to find us. You can find me on LinkedIn. We're everywhere. We also got some really great traction. So even if you Google Tastee Tape, it should pop up almost immediately.
That's because there are 2 E's.
Yep. Yeah. So honestly, if you just Google us, you'll be able to find us fairly quickly. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today. Hope it's been a good time for you at NGEN. Hopefully you met some amazing people. Thank you again.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me, and definitely has been a great opportunity.
Cool.